Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. This is a lovely Wednesday morning for you, Hagen.
Oh,
This is our streaming because there's no building without us teaming.
see, you took it this time.
You seem nervous the last few
It
times.
wasn't
I've
on our
tried.
notes, so I forgot what I was supposed
I
to
know,
say.
I saw it. I saw the fear in your eyes.
I
So
know.
I
Glad
got
you did.
How are you, Hagen?
I'm tired. It's early.
I know. I don't know if our viewers are noticing, but today's episode is a little earlier to accommodate our guest
Yeah.
schedule.
Yeah.
So
And we're also kind of trying something new. Perhaps 11:30 might work better for some people versus 1. I know. You might have some early afternoon meetings right after lunch that happen. So perhaps we'll get some people before they jump off to lunch. So
yeah,
we'll see.
nothing. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Well, how are you? How's the R&D department?
R&D department's good. We are plugging away at various tasks and things. I wanted to shout out one specific task is the pre-con historical cost dashboard, which you and I have both been working on.
Ayo.
Ah,
Too far.
a bit far. Yeah, the team's starting to use it. The whole team has access to it, and it's pretty exciting that they get to actually try it out, and then we'll get some feedback and hopefully change things up. I know Tim has been using it a little bit.
Shout out
Simpson.
Tim Simpson.
Yeah, shout out to Tim Simpson.
Thank you, Water Boy.
He was the originator of the idea, so it's appropriate, I guess. But yeah, so that's pretty exciting. And in other
else is
news,
happening?
the big old challenge, the Hilti Robotics Challenge is happening.
Ooh, can you give us a summary again of what it's about?
I can this time rather than take a snapshot and print it out, and then try to have Cesar focus on my crazy hands. I just got my iPad. I'm just gonna.
We're going full tech here in the studio.
We are,
Looking
we
for
are
upgrades.
the R&D department. We're not the non.
Watch it.
Yeah. We're trying to use technology. Hence the Hilti Robotics Challenge. So it's essentially just any way that you can bring robotics into construction. We want any and all ideas from everyone, any and everyone, just to kind of submit, and the winner gets a all expenses paid cruise, through the Caribbean for 2 people.
I see 2 people right
Yeah,
here.
we made this joke last time. And
Eventually we'll stick.
I think what's maybe even more exciting than the trip is that the fact that Todd Wynn, our CIO, he's going to take the winning idea to Hilti, and maybe the runner-ups as well. The running up ideas.
Run up ideas.
Sure. Yeah, he's going to take those to Hilti and kind of present them as like, hey, we crowdsourced all of RO, and there's these were the winningest ideas. These are the ideas that people really loved. Do these things, right? We're gonna make them do these robotics things. So I think that's pretty cool. It's really cool that I guess RO is one of those companies. I think there's a few others that get to go to Hilti and be like, hey,
Cool things we want to show you.
yeah, this is what we need. This is what we want. Let's do it.
So let me ask you this again.
Sure, maybe I know.
Have you submitted an idea yet?
I have not, but I know you say that because you have submitted an idea. So
I think I'm just speaking for the people. I think a couple of people have submitted ideas.
Oh yes, yeah. So last week I think we only had 3, but I think this week we have, I want to say 6. I think we have 6. Yeah, 6. That's 5 fingers and a thumb. 6. Yeah.
Nice.
So double in 2 weeks, but we're still missing out a lot of representation from I think almost every office except for Austin. I think 5 of those ideas are out of Austin, 1 is out of Dallas, and then we're not seeing anything from Houston, San Antonio. So please, anyone and everyone, please submit your ideas. We want to hear from everyone. So
No, pretty exciting. So just remind everyone where they should go if they want to submit an idea.
The Innovation Station. So you can find it in the company apps, or you can go to r-o/r-com//idea. And it's in the chat. It's in the chat as well.
Perfect. Looking forward to seeing your idea.
I know. I am thinking it's hard. I don't have a huge construction background, so I'm trying my best.
But you have a different POV
Yeah.
in the industry, so I think that's very valuable as well.
I'm hoping that brings me some strength.
Pretty exciting.
What about you over in the old VDC world?
Well, just chugging and tugging.
Tugging and tugging.
Just staying busy, work projects down the pipeline. We finalize our OKRs.
Ooh, that's very
Recently,
exciting. I'll go check them out.
Yeah, so it's pretty neat. Kind of in summary, we're trying to kind of build a more stronger foundation with the ops team.
Oh, okay.
Bring more awareness of what VDC can do. Obviously, coordination is our big meat of the pie, while trying to go beyond that as well. So trying to just build more awareness over that.
Mhm.
So trying to finalize also our playbook material.
Oh,
That's one of
okay.
the biggest ones. So
Nice.
hopefully wrapping that up pretty soon, so
Oh,
people
really?
can see what VDC does and how we do it.
How you doing? That's pretty cool. I know. Yeah, Maddie and Madison Smith and Rebecca Yamas, they were talking. I had no idea what they were talking about.
Yeah,
So
no, I
it'll be
think they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
In other fun news,
Mm.
we brought it last week. I know there's currently the RO Fiesta Medal social media challenge.
Mm.
Have you received your medal?
I have not, nor have I received my social media.
Oh,
I need to get on that.
you do. But for those who don't know, you believe you can pick up a medal from the front desk at your appropriate office, and the idea is just to celebrate the medal. So by posting, taking a photo with it at an event, at a place, really anywhere, just as long as you celebrate, and then uploading that photo in social media, yeah, Instagram, Twitter, any of those, with the hashtag RO Fiesta Medal Challenge. By doing that, it actually gives you a chance to win a $200 Amazon gift card.
Wow, that's pretty nice.
So if you haven't picked up your medal, you can go to the front desk of your regional office and get your pretty nasty, pretty fancy medal.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was created in house as well. So
Oh, really? Oh, okay. It is pretty nice. I've seen it.
yeah, hanging on my monitor. So I'm gonna hopefully post a photo this weekend with it.
Oh, nice.
So if you're interested, I think the contest challenge is close to April 30th. So make sure you submit your photo by then. So yeah, you have about a week or less.
I have some questions for you about that, since you've been grilling me about my challenge.
Grill me.
What if I
Got
don't?
too
What if I
toasted.
don't want to post my thing publicly? What if I have a private account? Is that okay?
Yes, I believe you only need to say to also take a screenshot of it and send it to social media.
Got it.
I'll double check with marketing, but
Okay.
I mean the whole is just to show you pride,
Yeah, sure.
show you fiesta,
Yes.
Yeah,
Forever.
fiesta forever. Yeah, yeah, that can happen.
That's all I got for you.
Oh, thank you.
You did great. I
Easy
knew the
rose.
answer. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I see here on our notes an update about the UKG.
Yes, it's live. RO Communications sent out an email about it that it's gone live. So if you haven't signed into your portal already, sign into your portal. Create your. Well, you don't have to really create your account, but kind of get it set up using your sign on, your single sign on, right? Your my hfritz at r/o. Gosh, r-o.com. My goodness, I know.
Embarrassing.
I know. But so
Why
log
are
into
you
there.
blushing?
Because I've never shown that much anger in my life. But so you can go there. It's also a mobile app, so you can actually access it via. I think it's a lot more friendly than maybe in the past. I don't really have a lot of experience.
Have you logged in yourself and
I
checked it
have.
out?
Yes, I have. Haha, I have done it. And then I think recently they sent RO Communications sent out another email about you can see your pay stubs on there now. And I believe you won't be able to see your pay stubs on the old system after 6 months from approximately now. So if you have any pay stubs you need to save, make sure you save those for whatever reason you might need to save those.
That's good to know.
It is good to know.
Now I think it's time for one of my favorite segments that you brought on.
Oh,
you
you
brought
like
from
it.
the dead.
Oh,
It kind of makes sense. You're gonna say historical.
oh, oh, it's that one.
But I know you like to bring up the today in history
I do.
fun facts. So
Yes.
take it away,
Take it away. Okay.
historian.
It was kind of light today, or I felt.
It's not as sad as you brought last week.
Yeah, and there was a lot of sad. There was a few sad things, so I didn't want to like go too crazy. Although there is one that is kind of sad. But we'll do that one second. But in 7-7,
Is it Pope Benedict being elected?
no, that was I don't really know how much. Anyway, you're spoiling things. In 1772, the field of economics was kind of formalized by David Ricardo. So obviously economics was a thing back then, but it was kind of formalized into a more formal approach.
Nice.
Yep.
So official.
Yeah. And then last week, if you remember, what day is today? The 18th?
19.
19th. So on the 12th, I believe I mentioned the sad news that the Civil War had started, which is interesting because this week in 1775, the American Revolution started. So it's kind of interesting how they're only a week apart. So that was the Battle of, let me think, Lexington and Concord, right? It started 1775. And then, of course, about a year or so later, that's when the Declaration of Independence was signed. But we'll get there. That's July 4th, of course. And then lastly, as you mentioned before, 2005, Pope Benedict XVI was elected. Now, I don't know much about Pope Benedict XVI, and I didn't care to look anything up about him, but I'm sure he was a very benevolent man. Obviously, he was the Pope, so that's
That's significant enough.
Yeah. All right. But that's all I have today, just those 3 tidbits.
Oh, pretty neat. I appreciate it. It's always fun to see what happens today many years ago.
It is very interesting, yes, I think so.
Plus, I've heard fans are raving about it.
Yes, all 3 people I've asked have said it's okay. Yeah.
3 people? I've asked 4 people.
Oh,
So,
really? Wow.
yeah.
Okay, look at us. Hopefully there's no overlap.
But now for our favorite segment,
Oh, yes.
building around the world.
Around the world.
I know last time we did one of my fun newsletters. I know we're limited on time,
Right.
but how many you want to do? Want to do 1, 2?
I can go quickly because I want to get to yours because yours is pretty cool.
I know.
And pretty apropos.
I agree.
So
That's why I picked it.
I'll just do with one that James Donald Holmes sent in.
E. Donald Holmes?
Yes,
Oh.
yes, he sent this in. So this was it's a skyrise in Miami, Florida, the Waldorf Astoria Hotel and Residences.
Ooh.
It is going to be the tallest building in Miami, Florida. Tallest building in Florida, I think, once it gets constructed. I think the one prior to it was about 848 feet or somewhere in that neighborhood. This one's going to be 1,049 feet.
Oh,
It's going to be
big boy.
100 stories. I looked up some of the rental prices to stay in that hotel, to like buy, I guess, a condo or apartment.
Mhm.
I guess it would be a condo. Yeah, they're pretty pricey, like in the billions or something. No, excuse me, billions. It would be crazy. They're in the millions, which is
It is Miami.
which is
so-
still crazy. I don't know anything about economics. David Ricardo does, not me. And it started recently, and it'll hopefully be done in 2027. 2027, yeah. I think that's. I mean, it's just a multifamily, hotel and residences. So nothing too snazzy, but it will be the tallest building. So that's why it's kind of neat.
Pretty exciting. I've never been to Miami myself, Hagen.
I haven't either. I've been to Florida a few times, but that's Disney World,
Oh, we love Disney.
of course. But what about
It's
you?
no advertisement for it.
No. Don't go. It's a lot of fun, but don't go.
For my around the world
Mm-hmm.
fun fact, since speaking of the innovation challenge, we actually wanted to bring up to attention. There's a, Boston Dynamics. They have the creepy
Little creepy dog.
Derma dog from
Seen
Stranger
that
Things.
video where he slips on the banana peel.
Uh,
That was
well,
funny.
well, this one might not split with the banana peel, but another Boston Dynamic robot is called the Atlas robot. It's their most humanoid robot. And get this, it has 28 hydraulic joints for mobility, a custom battery, and a couple of valves that can make it reach speeds of 5.5 miles per hour.
Kind of
And-
scary.
And it's also pretty lightweight, which I forgot to see with that how much it weighs
Okay.
in. But it is about 5 feet tall. So
Dang.
and
taller than you?
actually, yeah. But yeah, if you're intrigued by it, I don't know if our team is posting it on the chat, but just look up
Video.
Boston Dynamics Atlas robot, and it's pretty crazy because there's footage of it running, carrying stuff, doing parkour
Yeah, it's
left and right. He
very
looks
creepy.
it's a little creepy,
uh-huh.
and he uses some kind of real-time perception to kind of capture point clouds as it's moving around, so it can adapt. It's a little spooky,
It's,
but pretty neat.
yeah, it's very exciting. I think
So soon enough, I could be chatting to that 5-foot robot here instead of you.
could be, and he could be jumping. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe he can say it r-show.com, right?
you said it right. I had to double check that you said it right. Yeah.
But enough about this segment.
Yeah. Enough about us.
I think
and what
we're
we
ready
found.
for a very special guest
Very
today.
special. Yes.
I haven't had the honor to actually working with him because he's from Dallas.
Oh, very.
But I do have a few fun facts about him that I learned this morning. I know he's a very strategic, very contextual learner and analytical type of guy.
Okay.
He also went to Auburn University where he
Oh,
got
really?
his MA in construction science.
Wow. That's
And he's been in construction in 10 years, so he's no grasshopper.
yeah. No spring
sensei.
chicken.
No spring chicken. He's a roasted chicken. So
Wish
we're
there was a
looking forward to
way
hear what he
I
says.
can just
I
get
know
a
in the
little
past
pat
he
in the
actually
back,
built the
high
museum
five
tower in Dallas
for one of
and
these.
the
Then
Children's
I get
Medical
him
Center
a
at
thumbs up.
Legacy.
Right.
You
Okay.
know what I could
Currently,
do?
with our
Yes, I
project,
do.
he's
Have you heard of
helped.
this
He has
thing
helped
called
with the Turtle
Motivosity?
Creek
Motivosity?
Yes,
incident, as
it's
well as
like
the Cowboys Way, which
motivate and
Curiosity.
Oh.
curiosity. Yes.
he'll hand
Where
on
could I find this?
graffiti.
Is it an app,
It's
It's
paper,
beautifully done, by the way.
bird?
And I
It's
know
a
he's also
little
very,
web app,
he's
a portal, if
LEED
you will, that you can
AP
find
certified.
on the internet.
Ooh,
So
nice.
on the
Okay,
company
pretty
app as
sophisticated
well
in
as
the greens and the
ro.motivosity.com. sustainability.com.
Sustainability.
You just type that in your little web
side.
browser.
And
it's a
most
nice
of all,
little
he
form.
enjoys
You
to
can find
travel,
any employee at
reading.
RO.
Loves a little bit of outdoors.
You can give them that
and
little
small
kudos that you're
construction
looking
projects.
for.
Is this kudos or
Um,
no?
I'm interested to
there's
see
some
what James will
monetary
ask
attached
so we
to it,
can
is there
learn
a
more about
gift,
him.
or how does
Absolutely.
it?
But without
What can I send
further ado,
Right. It's a little
let's
note.
welcome
And
Cain
what's
Young.
really neat is you
Yay,
can
Cain. After this
actually
commercial.
tag what core value that
Again, I have
that
a
person, that
conundrum
employee
here.
embodied.
We
You
have
can
so
be a
many
single
great
person, multiple
people at our row, and I just wish there was a
you
way
have a little bit of
I could
funds
just
that you
give
can
them a
dip
little
into that
pat
RO
in the
gives you every
back, a
month,
high
and you can
five,
actually give them
or one of
a
these.
dollar or
Then I
two.
gig them. And
Put
what can I do
thumbs
with
up,
the
right.
all the
Well,
money
you know what I
velocity
could
bucks
do?
that I get?
Yes, I do. Have you heard of this thing called Motivosity? You can dump it into something like a gift
Yes,
card.
it's like
Amazon,
Motivate
Target, any of those,
and
or you can actually
Curiosity.
buy things like on the
Curiosity,
RO
yes.
store.
Where could I find this?
So
Is it an
pretty much
app,
the sky's the limit
paper,
on what you can do with that money.
bird? That's
It's
very
a
exciting.
little web
Thanks,
app,
Hagen. I
a
think you
portal, if
solved
you
my
will, that you can
problem.
find on the
I'm gonna
internet.
spend the next
so
10
on the
minutes
company
sending
apps,
some
as well
bucks to
as
people.
Hope I'm one of them.
And the place is called
You
Motivosity.
just type that in your little web browser.
Motivosity.
It's a nice little
Where you
portal.
can
find
acknowledge,
any employee at
encourage,
RO,
and celebrate
you can
one
search them
another.
up and you can give them that little kudos that you're looking for.
Is this kudos a note? Is there some monetary attached to it? Is there a gift? Or how does it, what can I send them?
Right. It's a little note, and what's really neat is you can actually tag what core value that person, that employee embodied. It can be a single person, multiple people, and then you have a little bit of funds that you can dip into that RO gives you every month, and you can actually give them a dollar or two.
And what can I do with all the Motivosity bucks that I get?
Well, you can amass that, and then you can dump it into something like a gift card, Amazon, Target, any of those, or you can actually buy things like on the RO store, right? So pretty much the sky's the limit on what you can do with that money.
That's very exciting. Thanks, Hagen. I think you solved my problem.
I think so.
I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes sending some bucks to people.
I hope so. Hope I'm one of them.
And the place is called Motivosity?
Motivosity.
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 Where you can acknowledge, encourage, and celebrate one another.
Trying to reinvent the wheel. There's plenty of coaches, people out there that are willing to help and guide you on the right path. So awesome. Mr. Cain Young, thank you for coming down from Dallas to hang out with us for a little bit today.
Sure.
So first question, I'm going to ask this up front because I feel like I wait too long to ask this more often than not, and people end up answering it before I get to ask it. It's really throwing off all of our clips. What do you love about RO?
With RO, I really like the attitude of continuous improvement. There's a Japanese word, kaizen, that I heard when I was learning all the lean building techniques and all that. But if you watch us, some people get frustrated by things constantly changing, but it's all in an effort to continuously improve our company and get better and better. So I've seen a lot of changes. I see what Justin and Todd are doing to try to identify the problems that we have, and then also come up with a plan to address those as best we can, and just try to always move forward.
I love that. Now, to hearing you mention the Kaizen and taking some of those lean principles and actually like applying them. Not necessarily when here, but like in general, I feel like a lot of people go through Six Sigma, lean training, lead AP, whatever. It's kind of a check the box type thing, or it's maybe a professional growth thing.
Yeah.
But they don't really ever adopt those practices into their lives. So I find it highly admirable that you've gone that step beyond just getting the certification or learning the material, but actually like using it, and not only using it, but using it as a leverage point to be a better builder.
Yep.
So how did you end up at RO?
I was working with another firm here in town, and they were talking about moving other places and things like that. And I had heard lots of good things about RO. I previously worked in Dallas for 8 years before that, and so heard lots of good things about RO and interviewed with lots of people, and just felt the most comfortable with RO, and glad I made the move over. So that was about 10 years ago now.
10 years, congrats.
Yeah.
I think that makes you more tenured than 95% of the people that have been here. I'm ballparking my numbers here.
I think I only know most of the people who've been here longer, so
It's funny how it works out. Just the familiarity you have with the people that are here whenever you start versus kind of the folks who come in at a later date. And what is your current role at RO for those that aren't familiar with yourself?
I'm a senior project manager. I was a superintendent for years, my previous company, and then here. I was a superintendent for a while, but for the past 6, 7 years, I've been doing PM work. So, and currently a senior PM.
What made you? I feel like so many of those superintendent types, once they get into the field, like they can't get away from the concrete and the drywall. What made you decide to try that project management route instead of continuing on that superintendent route?
I loved being a superintendent, but I had some people who thought it might be a good idea, and then when I looked at it, I said, my kids are getting to an age where maybe working 1,000 hours a week and being tied up in knots when I get home at night. Maybe that's something where I might could. And I've always known that I was good at a lot of office type things. That's why I went into the field, because I wasn't good at it and I wanted to learn something. And so being always been good at Excel, I did always been good at computer, different programs and things like that. So, and I didn't enjoy accounting, but I was okay at it in college. And so, and Leon and Marcus and a couple of other people thought it might be a good idea and I might find a good challenge in it, and I have, and it's worked out well.
I think to anyone out there listening, if Leon and Marcus both recommend something, you should probably do it. Those are some great advocates to have.
They're smart guys.
Definitely, just a couple of years of experience out there that you can draw upon. I'm super intrigued right now because you mentioned that you're out in the field because you knew you weren't good at it. You felt like you had the computer stuff kind of control. You were decent at accounting, if not a total whiz, but you elected to go out of your way and do the difficult thing. Was that an attempt to just grow personally, or what was the mindset there?
Fear of maybe getting bored. I always did well in all of the accounting and the project management type stuff in college, and I think everyone always assumed that. But when I interned in '02 in Dallas for another company, the senior project manager and the senior superintendent were two of the top people at that company, and I got to develop really strong personal relationships with them, and we just really connected. And at the end of the first summer, they both thought, you could do both, but we need superintendents. And back then, none of the superintendents went to college. It was more of through the trades. But they both advised me of that. And when I graduated, after graduate school, I came back and they right off the bat made me a assistant superintendent because they didn't know what to do back then. Like they had no path. It was, if you came from college, you were an OE and then you just went the office path. But I wanted to do something different. And so they didn't know what to do with me. So they just made me that. And so I got to run work at a very young age, and it's very difficult, but I made it through.
What was that transition? I'm trying to process that. What was that transition from grad school to assistant superintendent like? Those are, I don't know if I can imagine two worlds further apart.
I really enjoyed field engineering. I taught it at Auburn as a GTA, so my school would be free. I helped develop the text that they used at lots of schools. I really enjoyed field engineering. My thought was I would be a field engineer for 2 or 3 years. That's what I was looking forward to. And my first day, my boss he was one of these old superintendents who was, just said what he wanted and made it happen. And so he said, I don't need more field engineers. I need a superintendent. Then he told me that's what I was. And then for the first 6 weeks, I had no idea what to do. No one would tell me anything. I just stood around all the time. And they still wanted me to work 60 hours a week. So it's even worse if you're there long hours with no idea what to do. So I would stare at drawings without knowing what that meant. And I would walk around the job site hoping not to get hurt. And I just went around, and slowly I realized, hey, here's a task that needs to be done. I want to make myself useful. So I would do a task, and then people would see that I was willing to do some of the task. And slowly over that year, I developed a reputation for, hey, something needs to be done. I don't want to do it. I would do it. And then slowly I gathered more and more responsibility, and then it just snowballed from there.
You sound to me like a purebred adapter.
Try to be.
You are just striving to absorb anything you can, knowledge or processes or just any of that. That's very cool. You said you went to Auburn. Is that for undergrad as well?
Yeah, I did both there. I did junior college When I graduated high school, I had no plans. I had not applied to any colleges. I did not know what I was going to do. And so I went to a junior college for a couple of years and worked days framing houses. And then I worked for a small mechanical firm out of Birmingham doing estimating and a little bit of project management and a little bit of programming for them. And then when I finished as many credits as I could get at my junior college, I transferred to Auburn. So,
Did you do the construction science program over there?
yeah, they call it building science. It's all the same thing, but it's in the architecture department, like most. Some are in civil engineering departments or stuff like that. But Auburn does ours, and we do ours in the architecture school. And so called it building science. Went there. I was there 4 years total with 1 year of a master's. So 3 years of finishing the undergrad. And but it was a great time.
What was the best time
Uh,
that you're willing to share?
I mean, I met my wife there, so that's got to be it. Like I can't say
Yeah.
anything else. But we met there before cell phones and all that stuff. So it was just
How did people meet before Tinder? What was that like? Did you have
Try
to
to-
talk to her? Or what happened there?
when I go back to Auburn now, it's a lot quieter because before you had cell phones, everyone just hung around everywhere all the time. So everyone hung out on the concourse or you hung out in different meeting places because otherwise you'd never see anybody. And so there were different patterns. I always stayed up late, and I had one of my jobs in school was to deliver cookies on campus at like 5 a.m.
Is this like a Tiff's Treats predecessor?
No, it's just campus catering. They made all
really?
all the cookies you would get at the register. They would make those fresh. There was a little old lady who would make those fresh every morning in this giant oven, and then we would wrap them up and we would take them to these places. And so then I had a 7 a.m. class, and so by 9 a.m., like I was dead tired, so I would just go sleep on the front lawn of the main building on campus, like in the grass under a tree. And my girlfriend at that time, she knew that's where she could find me. But that was how everything was. You just had to know where people usually were, and you hoped you found them there. And because no one ever hung out really at their apartment that much, so you couldn't just call them there. So it was just a lot of hanging around and hoping you ran into people.
Had to do the old drop in.
Yep, a lot of that.
That's funny. That's man. It's yeah. I think about what I would have done. Whenever I was over at Texas State, in the dorm room, if there weren't electronics, I was like, yeah, there wasn't a whole lot there.
Yeah.
No one was cooking any good food. Like there wasn't much room to do anything. So yeah, get out there, enjoy the sun, right?
But Auburn was an amazing experience. There's a lot of good people that come out of there, and football was really big back then. We had a really good football team those few years, and it's just a lot of good times.
Is that do we have other folks out of Auburn? Surely
We
you're
had
not the only
some. I
one.
don't know that we've hired any recently. When I came on, we had 3 or 4, but they've all moved on to different companies. But I think Lauren Discus, I believe she's in the Austin office.
Yeah.
I believe she's from Auburn, if I remember right.
Okay.
It's been a couple of years.
Office is right over there, and I have no idea. I just assume everyone's from Texas at this point. I should assume everyone's from California. I think California, New York. So you have been, I think it's safe to say, wildly successful as a project manager and a senior project manager at RO. I know 12 Cowboys Way comes to mind, Novel, Turtle Creek, some projects that were absolute monsters. Bruno mentioned the Museum Tower.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't with RO, but an absolute beast of a project. I think I actually found a photo of you touring that project at like 3 a.m. with
Joseph McBriar.
Yes, it was. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found a blog post from like 2012 or 13 or something like that.
Yeah, I've seen that. He's a good friend of mine from Auburn, and he was in town, so I took him on a little tour. So
Very cool. What do you think are some of the characteristics that make for a good project manager?
I was just talking with someone earlier about that, and I think a lot of people want that role because it's a title and it sounds like you want to be in construction. And what I think a lot of people end up not realizing is you have to be comfortable with accounting, and you don't have to love it. I always made A's in my accounting classes without trying, but I also recognized that I did not want to do that for a living. Not because it's it's actually a really good career. I mean, you make good money and you have a lot of there's a lot of upsides to it. But for my the same reason I didn't want to be a PM out of college. I wanted to be out in the field doing that. I just didn't want to do accounting, and so, but I realized I was okay with it. Like it made sense to me. I just clicked with me, and that made it easier to do the PM route. And if you come over as a PM and you don't like accounting to a certain degree, where you're willing to just do it and get it done, it can end up eating up all your time, and also it can just make your life miserable because there's a lot of accounting, and if you don't do the accounting right, it makes everything else poor. And I think a lot of people, they're good at construction, they want to be in that leadership role, but it's the accounting part's annoying, and you have to have a level of comfort or just be okay with it enough to knock it out and get it done, and always have your finger on that pulse of where you're at financially on a job. And the other stuff, you know, how to figure out details, how to buy out, and all those other things, those are things a lot of us can get. But the accounting part is what I think hurts a lot of us. Um, and I think that's, if you're planning on doing PM, you need to get proficient with it and be comfortable with it. And just, if you don't like it, just resign yourself that I'm going to have to do it and knock it out and get it done, and not let it beat me up all week.
It's one of those things that's inescapable.
Yep.
Every project is going to have bills. I guess maybe if you're doing like one of those TV show home flip things, maybe you're able to avoid it. But outside of that 1 in a million occurrence, like every project you built here, it's going to have bills. You're going to have contracts. You're going to have to track a budget. You're going to have an SOV. And like those are things that have to be updated routinely if we want to get paid and get the trade partners paid. So it's, yeah, it's interesting to think about, because I guess a lot of it's inescapable, but that budget in particular is not only inescapable, but probably the most important thing going on, that in parallel with the schedule.
And I thought for years as a superintendent, because I always kept up with all the submittals, I was always more into those things than other people at my company, you know, reading the specs, going through reading the contracts when they're written and all that. I thought I understood a lot more than I did. And I thought that it wouldn't be that big of a move. And then what was shocking the first 2 to 3 years, and I had a really good mentor, Andy Chester is an amazing mentor. But even then I was just shocked at how much I didn't know and how difficult it was for me to learn the really deep stuff there. And Andy knows all the deep stuff, and he's a really good resource to push me and then let me make my own mistakes and then mentor me through that again. And just, it was amazing how much I didn't know that I thought I knew when I was a superintendent about what a PM does.
That Dunning-Kruger curve is vicious. The more you learn, that you don't know anything until 20 years later. And then you're like, I think I have a slight comprehension of what I do now.
Yeah.
For those folks out there that are looking at becoming a PM or have aspirations to do so, that don't have an Andy, what would you recommend to them to kind of hone those accounting skills?
A lot of it's processes. I mean, there's a lot of processes. I was fortunate. I mean, we're even more fortunate now, but the playbook was a huge deal for me. Like, just, I did everything off of the playbook. And if I didn't know how to do something, the hardest part with the playbook is making yourself slow down and actually read it. Because I don't like to do that. I like to skip. I like the pretty pictures, and I like,
well,
here's the picture. I'll just read it instead of, and Lacey and I were just talking about that because I've missed a bunch of steps, even though I've went through it like a dozen times because I just didn't read some of the stuff. And but if you slow down and read it every step by step, some of the work we've done over the years to create this playbook gives you everything, and it actually can teach you how to do your entire job if you just want to learn. And that's even, I mean, that was 5-6 years ago. The playbook was a lot more primitive back then, but we had enough to where I could find just about everything. And the way that Jonathan had to organize then, and all the work he's been doing on it for all our processes, it can be tedious while you're trying to build to do these processes. Like sometimes you feel like you're sinking already, and then someone says, let's talk about how you're sinking. Let's figure out a way not to sink so much next time. And you're just like, let me survive this. And you get to the next one and you're thrown in another one. But those processes, even though it can be, can drag on you sometimes, that is all the things we complain about. Our company has done the hard work to identify those and try to say, let's figure out a better way. And they want the people who are doing it to participate with that. And so that process, I think, figuring out all those processes, all that work that Jonathan's doing will pay off. it paid off for me just as someone coming into it blind, wanting to learn how to be a PM. I was able to find it all. We had that resource, even though we all thought it was primitive and maybe not used that much. I used it all the time to figure out my job, and it's even better now.
I don't know how much Mr. Grammer owes you for saying that, but I hope it's enough to buy yourself a nice dinner.
Yeah.
That was quite the glowing review of the playbook.
Yep.
That's I'm a big fan of it too. I think it's such a fantastic tool, and the work he and the operational excellence team have done in just curating that library of information, 750 or whatever it is cards now. That's incredible, and just being able to collect all of that experience and all that institutional knowledge on how things work, how things get done, what to watch out for,
Yeah.
and being able to easily search it, find what you're looking for is a huge benefit.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's for those that don't have the Andy out there, similar, right? Whether they be pursuing the career path in people services or marketing or operations or whatever, if you follow that playbook and read your job description, check those boxes, and find ways to expand just a little bit more, just do it 1% better, you're bound for greatness.
Yeah, back then the playbook had how to do it if everything goes right. That was my first job. And then having Andy knew every trick of how to fix it when things go wrong in Viewpoint. And oh yeah, Viewpoint always does that. It's been messed up for years. You just do these 3 steps past that, and Andy knows so much about that. He's an incredible resource on that stuff.
It's right before we were streaming here. I know we were talking a bit, and I got a little bit of insight. But what are some things that you like to do for fun? Surely, you've moved into this PM role out of the super role to senior PM role. Sorry, to buy yourself some time and enjoy some family. What are you doing for fun whenever you're not working?
It's mostly family right now. I've got young kids, and so we do that a lot. I spend a lot of time just working in the yard and then tracking down as many hobbies as I can find just to keep myself moving, trying to get as much out of life as possible. And it's nice to learn new things. And so picked up hunting this past couple of years with Jonathan and Andy. They've been excellent mentors. It's hard to learn I'm 40. When I was 40 when I started that, and it's hard to learn late in life, but RO has a lot of good people who have taught me, Levi and numerous others. Even Leon's helped me a lot. And so there's lots of people who want to help, and those guys have been able to walk me through that and show me all the ins and outs and keep me from looking too foolish while doing all that. And but also just looking at things that I want my kids to do and things we can do together. And so my daughter and I started this spring doing archery and taking lessons together, and she's gotten good at it, and I've started to learn it, and it's a good skill to learn. And we have a larger backyard, so we're able to do that as a family. I want the whole family to learn how to do it, so we can all be back there just anytime we want to. It's an easy hobby, and it's expensive, but it's easy. So
Cheaper than shooting.
yeah,
Usually, I don't know.
I don't have to go anywhere. I can't shoot in my backyard without getting arrested. So it's a big ordeal to go to a range somewhere, and so you can't. It's hard to get good at it unless you spend a lot of time. But if I can just get home at the end of the day and shoot some in the backyard, then do it with the kids, and we all get better. It's a good skill, and it's a good hobby. So
Whenever the AI chatbots take over the world and shut down all our factory farms, the young family will be doing all right.
And then while I do all these projects in the yard and everything else, I have lots of trees in the backyard that I plant, and I like to do a lot of that. I listen to a lot of books on audio, and then I intend to do woodworking once I get past some of these other projects. I do woodworking every now and then. I have everything to do it, but I always keep a list of numerous projects ahead of me, so I always have something to dream about and something to do, and keep me busy.
What kind of woodworking is it? Furniture or like millwork or?
Right now it's more rough. My grandfather did woodworking. My dad did woodworking. When I was trying to decide what to do with my life, that first day of junior college, I sat down, and I didn't realize they were gonna, I decided the night before to go to college. I was sitting in my living room, and my mom was like, "What are you gonna do now?" And I guess I'll go to college. And so I went there and signed up, and they told me I had to pick a degree, a major, and I didn't realize that. So I sat there for 3 hours because they had a list of every major, and I narrowed it down to two: computer science and building science. And I told them computer science, and then changed my mind on the way home. And but the only reason why I chose building science is because the only thing I'd really ever enjoyed doing was computers, and then woodworking with my grandfather. We used to build little stuff. He had a whole little workshop, and he would build stuff, and he would always get me to go over there with him, and I just always liked that. So that led to saying, well, the only thing I've ever liked doing is, building little things, and so I'll just do that. And then I got a job framing houses, like just so I didn't want to get too far into it before I knew what I wanted to do. And so that helped me realize I did like building, liked putting stuff together and creating, the things in the world and making those. So
Do you feel like that time you spent framing out residential homes and all that, do you think that helped you be a better superintendent and project manager down the road?
yeah, definitely. Any of those trades and stuff where you just see the lowest, like I just got in the yellow pages and asked for entry level. Like a lot of those guys didn't even know what that meant. I was like, what is the lowest? Like how, I don't know anything. And, what can I do on a job site? And so, it started out at the lowest level and understanding what that feels like every day when it's not glamorous and you're just toiling away every day, learning a few skills, swinging a hammer, framing walls, those sort of things, getting used to the roughness, just how rough everyone is. And that helped a lot. And just at every level, if there was money in framing houses, I would still be doing. I loved framing houses.
Oh, there's
There's
money.
well, not at the actual swinging a hammer.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That part was, I realized really early that there just wasn't any money in that. And I did really poorly in high school, and for whatever reason, I did really well in college. Most of it was because I was working all day, and then I would go to school at night, so I didn't have any time to. I was always bored in high school and just never was engaged. And so it was nice to go to college at night, and it was kind of a sink or swim situation for me. Like I didn't have any, like it was whatever I did with my life was wherever I was going to end up. So I invested a lot in college and a lot in working and making sure that's what I wanted to do with my life. So I didn't spend 4 years and then decide that's not what I liked.
You spend enough time sweeping slabs and straightening out nails, and you realize, like, I need to pay attention. I need to get my dollar's worth going to these classes for 6 hours a day or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Excuse me. If you had to choose between taking your family on a vacation or your favorite project team on a vacation, hopefully this is an easy
It would
question.
always be family. I mean, we've done a couple of trips with the project team we had on this past project. I went on some years ago. One of my first 4 or 5 years out of college were really good. Like we built really difficult projects and we had a lot of fun. We would shoot fireworks at each other in the trailer, like bottle rockets from office to office. If you went in the bathroom, we would slide them under the door and let it blow up in there while you're in there. Just endless pranks and endless messing with each other and lunch every day together, and just had really hard work, a lot of hours, but had a lot of fun. And even when I still have lunch with those guys sometimes, and I tell them if I'd have known the first 4 or 5 years were going to be the best, I would have enjoyed them a lot more. Because we all just complained all the time. And then the years after that were a lot more difficult because we just didn't have that team. And this past team we've had for the past few years doing these high rises has been a really good team, and we've had a lot of fun, and makes it nice to come into work every day. And so that's been good. But I love spending time with my family and love going on trips with them. So
I wanted to ask, what's the craziest thing you've encountered on a project? But I feel like we've
No,
already
that's not
broached
it.
that.
No, that was nothing. That was the scariest thing. I used to go when I did Museum Tower. We had this really tall crane, obviously, and we jumped it several times. But the flagman is supposed to. It was a really old crane. It was older than I was, and it had to be greased manually, all the way every part of it. And the flagman we have was this little chubby kid who was afraid of heights. And so I always liked climbing cranes, and the previous cranes I'd had before, I would climb up them and I had a nice camera, I would take photos and just really enjoyed that and got to know all the operators. And so I was like, well, I'll do that. I'd only been out on the end, actually rode the trolley out to the end once, and that was terrifying, um, at a level that's not the same as going on the counter deck. But I had done every month I had to go up at Museum Tower and grease all the different parts all the way down through it. I was always tied off, and everything, and I always followed the rules. And I had but you'd have to climb down into it and do all the different the trolley wheel and everything else. And the heights never bothered me. But towards the end of the project, I was out there one day. I'd greased everything. I had my camera with me, and I was in the trolley, and I was telling him to come back, and I was going to video coming back towards the cab.
A little dolly zoom
And he
action.
started to gear it up to come back, and I told him to do it quick, and he started to do it, and it starts to go, and I'm just getting pulled back, and I yelled I was able to grab my radio and yell at the last second for him to stop, and luckily he stopped because he's a really good operator, and my lanyard had been draped, and it had gotten stuck in the trolley wheel, and I was being sucked into it as he spun it, and I'm 600 feet above the ground. I'm hanging over downtown Dallas. And so my heart, like luckily I stopped. Like I was good. I was still in the basket. Everything was fine, but I could have died right there. It took me about 15 minutes. I always tell everybody when I do training for fall protection, I always have a pocket knife with a serrated deal on it. Because even with a knife like this, when was up there, it took me 15 minutes to cut myself out of that lanyard that was stuck in everything.
Oh my
And
God.
just because it was made so well. And the whole time he doesn't know what's going on because I'm so panicked I can't even talk. He just knows I said to stop, and he couldn't see me because of the angles. And so finally got myself cut out. I thought I was okay. I got down to the ground, but I made myself a month later go back up and do the same thing because I wasn't sure mentally how I was, and it was worse than the first time I went up. I was shaking like a leaf. I was terrified, and by the time I left, I was okay again, but I'm glad I went up and made myself go up again. But now I always warn everybody when they're wearing fall protection to watch their harnesses around moving equipment. If you're in an elevator, equipment room, if you're around any moving parts, make sure you keep an eye on your lanyards because they can get sucked into stuff. So that was the craziest one.
You got me sweating over here just thinking about it. I've been out on the jib a couple of times, and just being there, like you said, it's nerve wracking enough. I generally don't have a fear of heights, but there's something about being cantilevered out over a city that's just a little unnerving. And as you're explaining that to me, I'm just like, I don't want to go back up on a crane now because of that. I'm thinking of all the terrible things that could happen. I'm like, my hair is only an inch long. What if it gets caught in something? What if my shirt sleeve gets caught on something?
It was terrifying.
Wear boots without laces so you don't get your laces caught in anything.
Yeah.
Man. Full gamut from fireworks to browning your trousers up there stuck with your lanyard stuck in a trolley. That the whole gamut of experience. What are some of the unique things about building in Dallas? That's obviously a huge market, ton of construction, but I also feel like it's kind of unique just in the fact that you're, middle of the country, right? There's no or not many union workers. Kind of, what are some of the interesting things that you've picked up on your tenure up there?
I've built mostly in Dallas and Plano. I did a couple of projects in Fort Worth. I prefer to live in Fort Worth and work in Dallas, which I've heard a lot of people say Fort Worth is a lot more relaxed, which doesn't make it great to do big projects in because it's hard to get inspections. You have to do a lot of third-party inspections. There's a lot of lazy hurdles you have to get through sometimes. And so you really like building in Dallas. It's not where I would prefer to live, but they're really, even with all the hurdles you get there, at least they build a lot. So there's a lot of, just mindset of that. And there's a lot of subs there. And then Plano, Frisco area as Dallas just moves north with all the different new headquarters. It's a good market. I came out of Auburn and everybody was going to Atlanta in 04. And I looked at Atlanta and it was overbuilt. About 40% on office space and stuff like that. And I just thought like the economy was good. Everyone got multiple job offers. Everything was really well in 04, 4 years before the crash. And I had a good experience in Dallas, had good reasons to come back here, but also just from a practical standpoint, I felt like Dallas was a better market. And that's proved to be really true in the the worst years of the economy, I had the most opportunities, even in Dallas. Even while I was building Museum Tower in 2009, 2010, I mean, I counted 18 tower cranes one day from what I could see,
Good.
even in the worst part of the economy. And so Dallas is a big enough market to sustain a lot of, a company like as big as RO could stay here and just work here and in all, like in these markets without having, if I would went anywhere in the Southeast, which is where most people out of Auburn go, you have to travel. That was what we were all led to expect, is we would travel every 2 years. And so you would pick up and move every 2 years. That's what all of us expected as our career. And so coming here, this was travel for us, but we've been able to stay for, almost 20 years now. And that's been nice. The market in Dallas is big enough to sustain even in downturns. I mean, they're tough. It's always tough to have a downturn, but we're not looking to travel to all these different states, and we're not having to, ask all of our people to live these transient lives where they can only spend a couple of years in a community and then leave, and the kids can't. It's just a tough life. And so the Texas markets in general tend to allow people to build a life in a community and have long-term friends and build relationships. And so I like that about Dallas. Um, there's ups and downs on the labor, mostly non-union, some union. I've had good and bad in both. And then right now the data center and semiconductor markets are booming up there. They're booming in Austin. A lot of those folks realize in Texas there's a lot of good opportunities and good workforce. And so those are still doing relatively okay. We've had some put on hold recently, but um, it's been good in general. And then Dallas just has a good diversification. I've heard a lot of people say Houston is focused mostly on oil. And so when oil is up and down, you get different markets, and you have to get in with, even if you're not necessarily doing it, you got to be in that, and you got to know certain people. Houston, I'm glad we've done well recently in Houston. It's a hard market to break into, and so that's been good. And then Austin is, everybody knows Austin. Everybody in the country wants to move to Austin. So
How can we stop that? Do you have any ideas on how, or at least slow it down?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm one of them. I shouldn't complain, but it's just bananas. I live about 35 miles east of the office here. There's days where it takes me 2 hours to get in, just stop and go traffic all the way across. Picking up and moving from Alabama to Texas. It was most of your family back in Alabama.
yeah, we're the only ones out here. So
Was that tough for you making that
Um,
change, or
like I said, I liked to travel. This was travel for us. We just have stayed here ever since. The first couple of years, I liked it, but I wasn't as enthusiastic. But after about 2 or 3 years, and then things have changed a lot. And we used to call it the Metroplex. I don't hear people using that anymore. But in the Metroplex, in the past 20 years, there's just there's a good feel here. There's a lot of entrepreneurial spirit. There's the Texas attitude is like just to constantly improve. It's to get, build, let's make this thing. Let's get going. And it's just a nice attitude, and it's provided me a ton of opportunities to build really big buildings. And, that's something that would have been hit or miss if I'd stayed in Alabama. And I like being out here. I like all the stuff that goes on and just the energy. So haven't missed it.
sure? Yeah, it's. I came from New York myself, so East Coast, a little bit different than Alabama. I think I don't know. I haven't spent a whole lot of time there, but it's a different kind of pace and approach to things.
Yeah.
It's a I guess just a lot less political across the board, if you will. Bureaucratic, a lot more like, hey, there's something we can do to make this place better. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
Let's not, bundle ourselves up in red tape and analysis and all that. Like, let's kind of see what happens, give it a go.
There's still lots of room to create too. Whereas some of places like New York or some of the cities that are really old, they've been developed, and there's so much history in them that it's hard to. Whereas here, the history it's there, but everyone's willing to just move forward. And if they can't do it here, they'll spread out and they'll spread out and they'll spread out. And
Damn Capital Corridor, though. Just seems like it's in the way of everything.
Yep.
I don't know. These Texans and their capitals. Um, Oh my gosh, it's 12:20. I was thinking we had till 2, and I'm like, oh, we have an hour and a half. No, we don't. We have 6 minutes. um, who's I know you mentioned Andy. Who've been some of the other very influential people on you while you've been here at RO?
Jonathan and I have even from early on as young superintendents.
Jonathan Grammer.
Jonathan Grammer and we've connected, and over the years we've bounced a lot of stuff off each other, and that's been good. There's lots of one day a few months ago, I was frustrated about something, and I just sat down and I started writing all the people at RO I like, and that I would want to have lunch with and stuff like that. And I filled up the whole front of one page, and I flipped it over, and I was like, man, this is awesome. Like, even people that maybe we don't like to build with each other, like I still like them as people. And I was like, what an amazing blessing to work for a company where there's a whole page full of people that I like to spend time with. I was like, that's amazing. Like, because the people in upper management, I mean, they have a difficult task, but they're fun people to hang out with. And I got to go on a trip with Leon and Marcus this past year, and Charles Williams, and we had a great time, and even through difficult circumstances, and just I've connected really well with Andy. Andy Chester he's a much different person than I am, and when we started working together, I think we both were kind of like, I don't know how this is going to work, but we've become very good friends, and I have a lot of respect for him, and he's taught me a tremendous amount. And but there's just lots of folks. I've really enjoyed getting to know a lot of folks here.
You made a comment there about making a list of people you'd want to have lunch with. And I did the same thing, and then just pitched it as a podcast, and now I get paid to do it.
That's fun.
Get to buy you all lunch.
Yeah.
So I feel like I say it every time, but I feel like I'm probably the luckiest person at RO getting to sit down. We'd never met, or if we had, it was very briefly. And I've been here for 7 years now. So the opportunity to sit down with people like yourself and just spend an hour getting to know you, and I do a bit of research ahead of time. So get out there and creep on you a bit.
I like that it's not just one. Like, I know people from estimating that I've gotten to be close with. Dave Parente, we've done some projects together. He's a really good guy. From VDC, Paulina, she and I have worked together on a lot of projects. From the PM side, I knew lots of folks, and the superintendent side, but also just accounting. And it's been nice to get to know so many different groups. My previous company was really siloed in that.
Man, I hadn't thought of that until you said it. But yeah, I feel like a lot of places you go, there's this almost adversarial relationship between various departments. And that just you don't see it here.
I don't feel that here.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
One more question here, and we'll let you get going. If you had to give young Cain Young some advice, what would you tell young Cain?
I think I was telling someone this morning, the biggest mistakes I made for the first forever, and I still make them, is just burning bridges. When I was young, I burned every bridge I could get my hand on. I was a jerk. I was passionate, and all I cared about was getting the job done. And I, would yell at people every chance I got just to get the job done. Like, all that mattered was getting the job done. And it's easy to feel that way. And what I learned the hard way over the years is that all those bridges you burn, you'll need them someday, even the most frustrating ones. And so a lot of times when you're young like that, you see some of the older guys bending or giving in too easily, and it makes you mad. And I think a lot of us who are older have realized that as much as this person may not perform like you want them to, they may be your only choice on the next job, and they may be your best option at one day. So trying to push myself, and wish I had learned it much sooner, to not burn bridges, to try to maintain a professional relationship at least, and then also try to build relationships even with people you don't necessarily want to work with again. So you have the option later of deciding that instead of them. So
I feel you on that one. I've in the past have had a bit of a hot-headed temper, and I can appreciate that. Take a breath. Try to be a little bit empathetic here and there.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, it seems that shouting or yelling or getting upset, frustrated with someone doesn't encourage them to do anything that you want
I always say it's a reasonable response to what's happening. You should be mad that they lied at you. You should be mad and very mad that they didn't do their job, but it doesn't get you where you want to go. So it's a reasonable response, but it doesn't get you where you want to go. So you have to ask yourself, what do you really want here? Do you want to win this, or do you want to, develop a career?
Can't imagine a better way to end it than on that note. So, Cain Young, thank you so much for coming in and talking with us. To everyone that jumped on board today, thank you for watching. I know this was a bit different on our time frame, but try to be accommodating for people and try some different things. We'll see if we get any more or less viewers here, what works, what doesn't work. We'd love any feedback that people have. Next Wednesday, we'll be back here at 1 o'clock again, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock with Ms. Kate Lynn from the accounting department. So we'll be talking with her, learning a little about accounting.